So when Attention Agency started, we were kind of unsure about the fact that this was going to be our only exclusive thing. My business partners, there's three of us, had come into this with the idea that this would be one of the ways we would drive revenue, but we also had consumer goods businesses, both ingestible and hard goods, everything from sports nutrition to flashlights. We had a DMV license renewal business and a Australian travel service business where we sold travel visas, and all of those, some of them got shut down because of changes made by ad platforms, and others just fizzled out because we didn't invest in brand properly, which is a mistake we would never make again. But we came from direct response, affiliate marketing, hardcore, and our only objective was driving revenue. So when you have that mindset of dollars out, dollars in on a day-to-day basis, it's very hard to spend 5, 15, 50 grand on a video that you're going to use in ads when you know that you can spend that 5, 10, 50 grand on ads and drive 3x the return. The difference is that video could make it a 7x return or something like that, right? So, and there's organic that comes along with it. There's so many benefits to brand lift that's created through quality brand building that we now know and just we're less experienced with in building our own brands. But this agency has come from success in leveraging our direct response advertising skills. And when we first started, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was, formally working in this, none of us were really sure what the contracts needed to look like. We weren't sure what we should be saying in a pitch, what kind of deck we needed, and all those kind of services, all those kind of answers came to us over time through research. Now I obviously would go to something like Creative Market or Canva to build a sales deck for pennies on the dollar, but back then, maybe we didn't know about it as much, or those tools weren't as prevalent perhaps as they were now. I think that's probably, we just didn't know about them. But things would be very different if we were launching again today. We wouldn't be going on Fiverr and Upwork anymore trying to procure deals for $500 a month. It's just a totally different planet. Now it's, we're dealing with much, much bigger brands now, and it's probably to the point where we don't want to necessarily work with brands that don't have any strategy. If you don't have a marketing calendar, I can't work with you anymore because it's going to be a mess. You're going to be complaining about performance from the first day. You're going to be last minute on everything. You have to have your stuff together. You have to have a plan, a growth strategy, and some idea of what you're doing. So getting from there to here, there were definitely bumps in the road. I mean, there were times where, we were trying to grow the agency exclusively and we'd given up on some of the other projects that either on purpose, because they weren't necessarily especially profitable, or we were forced out maybe by changing the TNCs and Google in particular. Very white hat offer, they just changed their requirements for specific industries. They put some competitors that were in business for 15 years out of business completely. And that stuff happens. And we were left with the agency exclusively, and by that time we'd signed some clients. We had some revenue, but we didn't have all the revenue that we necessarily needed or wanted. And it was an interesting time because in order to stay in business, we had to cut our salaries, and for a time we didn't take any salary. We were just working, servicing the clients, and trying to grow the business. And there was a lot of cold calling and cold emailing and LinkedIn outreach and all kinds of things. Like I said, Upwork and Fiverr, just trying to scrape by to get clients so we could build a book, build case studies. And thankfully we did that. We made it through. There was a pivotal point in our journey where we had basically the lease was coming up due, and we either had to sign the lease and stay there for another year, or close the lease or cancel the lease and move out. And we all kind of knew, this was before COVID, but we all kind of knew that working from home separately wasn't really what we were going to do. It was just kind of like, this venture has failed and we're going to move on to the next thing. We're all digital entrepreneurs. We could start up another business in a heartbeat. So it was like, all right, we're drawing a line in the sand. By April 15th or March 15th, because we had to give 30 days notice to move out April 15th. By March 15th, we're going to get X amount of revenue, or this business is shut down. And it was something like January. And so we had time. We had several months. We were prospecting hard. We signed some clients, and we weren't close enough until We weren't close enough to make it, but we had one client that we were on the hook to sign, and it was like, I think it was like $8,000 a month, and we needed to hit 25 or something. I can't remember what it was, 15 or something like that. We needed to hit that amount of revenue to be able to pay ourselves some money, pay the rent, and stay in business, sign another year lease. So we continued to prospect, but as it got closer to March 15th and closer to March 15th, we realized that, man, we have got to sign this big client. Otherwise, we're pretty much out of business. And we ended up pitching the client and selling them on March 22nd. So we delayed the renewal of the lease by 1 week and stayed there, stayed in business. We signed that client, and since we signed that one client, which was a much bigger brand and had a great name in especially in our hometown here, we were able to lean into that and get other business as well. And it was a really game-changing moment for all of us because, you know, we were able to make it through, persevere, and sign the business that we had to sign, where we could have easily been out of business. And you know, it's very similar to a lot of companies. I believe FedEx, the founder, went to Vegas and bet $5,000 and made enough money on blackjack to keep the company in business. And Zappos brought him into his his loft, moved the whole company into his loft and set the shoe store up at the front door just so he could keep the business going and not taking paychecks and all that kind of stuff. There's certainly a lot of similarities. Sure, I haven't sold a company for $400 million or something like that to Amazon, but the point is that, you know, this is just the way it is with entrepreneurs. You know, you're kind of all in, risking it all, running full speed into a brick wall, and sometimes you break through the brick wall and sometimes you don't. You know, I think we're through the other side now. The company's very stable, upwards of 45 clients now with coming on 20 staff members. So, you know, it's certainly not out of the weeds. We're still a lot of things to improve, but having all the systems in place with softwares and hiring people that have been at big agencies before are bringing a lot of structure and knowledge to the company that we didn't have before. And so the company's getting better as a result. And, you know, my goal moving forward is to try and continue to develop this great culture and community of people that want to work together, work hard, and succeed for clients while making themselves successful as well. You know, we offer commission to all the people that work with us, and we consider it to be good commission as well, so they can make significant money working with us. Everybody's in that position. So there's a lot of self-interest that we put people in. There's a lot of autonomy because everyone's working at home. Through COVID, clearly I'm still working at home, but it's kind of a joy to try and make it work. You know, I create a culture and create a company digitally like this. So that's a little bit about the story of Attention Agency's start. Hopefully it's interesting, and if anybody has any questions or other stories that relate kind of similarly to that, let me know. I'm interested to hear.